Hello internet friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, what up? Happy to have you. So recently I got a question asking for some practical tips as it relates to managing yourself when you're working for yourself, or if you have a project that you're working on in particular alone. There's no one there to keep you on track. There's no one to manage you but you. So recently I've been all about the projects. There's been a project I've been working on outside of my 9-to-5, outside of YouTube now for several months that I do work with some amazing humans on, but also I spend a lot of time by myself working on this project as well. A lot of long hours and a lot of self-motivation and tracking for the self is needed. So here are some tips that do work for me. And these tips just don't only apply to the self, they apply to small groups easily as well. For example, when one of my business partners and I are working together, we tend to do a lot of these same things anyway, just because it sets the groundwork to great production and great efficiency with our time. So I think you'll find that as well. So my first tip I would say is learn how to set your space and learn what that means for you. So for myself, I need to get rid of visual distractions that are chaotic in nature. Colors, lots of things out of just like around, like I will vacuum a carpet, throw out my yoga mat, I have a little floor desk and I will sit on that and I will have my tea next to me. And when I do those things, I'm like, this is time to go through it and we are going to be focusing on this one thing for a set amount of time. Another thing along with that is put your phone in a different room. If there's some emergency that is that critical, okay. But in general, you're going to be fine without your telephone. So put it in a different room, put it on silent, throw it under your bed, feed it to your dog, whatever you need to do so that you're just not tempted just to like pick it up and just like start scrolling, right? So many people get that adrenaline rush of just this scroll, right? This scroll. So just take away that temptation. Put it somewhere where you know it's gonna be, but it's away from you for that time. You don't need your phone. There's nothing good on there anyway. Speaking of distractions, which isn't really a distraction, I have my laptop open and one of my business partners just messaged me on Slack. And so, Jason, what up, Jason? Next is always have a backlog of items that are waiting for you in case you finish something ahead of time. Also, this allows you to always be anticipating what's coming up next, what steps are coming up next, maybe things you need to prepare before that time comes to work on that thing. Always have your backlog of items that are created in order to help you get to those goals at the rates you need to get to. And speaking of that, you should have goals every single week that are in alignment to your greater goal, the greater thing you're looking to achieve, the greater project completion, or the greater portion of the project completion. Your backlog items within that week should go into that goal for that week. And same thing with all subsequent weeks. And just to be safe, I'm going to mention it that if you don't have a clearly defined goal, that is by far your number one thing to do. I am hoping at this point, if you're thinking about working for yourself and managing your own self and your own time to work on a project, you have the project defined. But just in case you don't, that is number one. All right, so the next thing is focus on sprints of like 1 to 3 hours per that thing you are working on, per that backlog item, or per that set of backlog items. If you hit some major roadblock and you've been working on it for, let's say, 5 hours when you were supposed to allot it 3 hours, take a break. There's only so much the brain can do after you push it to a certain extent of time. And though I often like to try to push past that time and just keep going, I find that my quality of work will decline the longer and longer that I'm working. So give yourself a break, step away. You could do another sprint, another 1 to 3 hours when you get back, or move on to the next thing of your day. I think what scares people sometimes is feeling as though they're working on something and they just don't know when it's going to end and it could go on forever. Really look at your project, see what's involved, try to determine the amount of time needed, and then really plan for those 1 to 3 hour sprints of time to work through the thing. And then guess what? You're free for a little bit, or you're free for however long you want to be free for until you do the thing the next day or later on that day. And the last thing to tag on to the end of that is prioritize work when it is time for work. And when it is not time for work, prioritize whatever else you are doing in life. again, this comes back to the fact that often people feel like when they're working that they're missing out on something, or they're being pulled away, or there's something better out there, or they're, they want to scroll because there could be something. You can have FOMO and all that other stuff at another time during the day. Like, your time of work will be over at some point. Just define what that workflow is for you. Just define what that work time frame is for you and determine what you need to get done during that time. Then guess what? You can do whatever you want. You can spend time with your family. You can go out to eat. You can go play with your dog. Whatever that needs to be, just know that after your time frame is finished, you are going to be free to do what you need to do. And yes, I get it. The work is never over, right? I am so guilty of overworking and just driving myself into the ground sometimes because there's always more to do. But do you know what? You have to cut it off at some point in order to continue to have balance within your own life and continue to stay healthy in other areas of your life as well. Because like most things, I believe that balance leads to and contributes to a higher quality of life and a higher quality of work. All right, friends, that's it for this video. I will see you in my next one. I'll meet you down in the comments below. Let me know what projects you're working on. What are you trying to create for yourself right now in life? I'm interested. I really am. All right, I'll see you in my next one. Bye.